So the focus of this string is the number 240. So we're going to find different percents, and we're focusing on percents here, of 240, and that's going to give us a number. So we're going to work through these percents, and I think one of my favorite ways, which is to use our intuition. So first we find 10% of the number 240, and then we're going to look at 5% of 240, and then we'll look at 15% of 240, and keep going, 30% of 240, 1% of 240, 7% of 240, and 26% of 240. Now this might seem like a lot of ridiculous operations, but in fact we're going to use the connection between these percents and highlight them in the ratio table to cut through these really quickly. So first we ask for 10%. Well, remember 10%, you just cut a number in 10 pieces and get the answer, right? That finds 10%. So 240 divided by 10 is 24. That gives me 10%. So the answer is 24. 5% we could recalculate, or just say, oh, it's got to be half of 10%, right? Because we divide by 2, so it has to be 12. 15%, well, 10% and 5%, that's 15%. So I'm going to add these two up to get 36. Or you can think that 15% is 5% times 3, right? 12 times 3 is 36. 36. And there are other ways to think about it, but I'm just trying to focus on straightforward ways here. If I take 10%, multiply it by 3, I get 30%, right? So if I take 24 and multiply that by 3, I get 30%, which is 72, right? 24 times 3 is 72. If I take 10% and divide it by 10, 10 divided by 10 is 1, so that's 1%. So 24 divided by 10, which is 2.4, that's 1%. All I did there to get from 24 to 2.4 is move my decimal point over once to the left. And there are other videos talking about those fun patterns and those ideas. We'll keep going. Now 7%, well, I'm just going to add two 1% and a 5%. So 5% plus 1% is 14.4%, plus another 1% is 16.8%. 16.8, excuse me. So 12 plus 2, that's 14.4, plus another 2.4 is 16.8. Okay. And then lastly, 26%. Maybe that seems difficult, but let's just think that we have 10%, 15%, and 1%. Especially for tougher numbers, once you have these landmarks, add them together. You've already done the work. Now just add them to find 26%. So 10 and 15, well, that is, right, 24 plus 36, which is 60, plus 1% is 62.4. So that's 0.4. So just notice, I mean, if you started out and I asked you for 7%, instead of trying to find that, find 5%. Always easier to find, and then two 1%, add them together. Think backwards like that. Break these numbers apart. That'll really help you.